This is an M-rated show and they are allowed to be M-rated, but I do have to say this. I'm really glad they didn't go there. Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to an all-new Crossin Streams. As always, I am your host, the real Geno Reynolds, and today we're continuing our look at the DC Universe's Harley Quinn series, this time episode 6, called You're a Damn Good Cop, Jim Gordon. What this episode is about is Harley Quinn is still trying to impress the Legion of Doom, and she keeps pulling off jobs with her crew, and they're doing very well, but they're still not perceived well in the criminal public. So she, of course, goes into a rage, and in that rage, she figures out that, you know what, we should be robbing Wayne Enterprises, rob Bruce Wayne. So they go to steal a prototype of something that Wayne Enterprises is working on, but during the mission, Harley calls an audible because she sees a door that says, what's behind this door is even more classified. So she goes and steals it. Ends up being this button. While they're making their escape, Clayface, who was the one distracting the Wayne Enterprise security, he loses his hand, which Batman recovers and gives to Jim Gordon. Now, Jim Gordon, if you remember me talking about him in an earlier episode of talking about this show, he is just this strung out, used to be a good cop, and so he uses the bat signal not to talk about the robbery at Wayne Enterprises. No. Instead, he wants to talk to Batman about his wife cheating on him and their horrible sex life. And Batman takes away the bat signal. But before he does, he says, "Look, we're just coworkers." But before he leaves, he hands the hand of Clayface to Jim Gordon. And what we soon realize when we're back with Harley's crew is that the hand, which is now formed into its own little person that acts like a toddler, the hand knows everything that Clayface does. So they're all afraid that the hand is going to give up their location, and of course they've been doing all these crimes, and they're going to end up back in prison, Arkham, and so on and so forth. So Harley decides we're going to go get the hand back. Now, still, you got to remember, she's doing these things for selfish reasons. She's still trying to get in the Legion of Doom. They keep doing jokes about that, where she's like, I'm going to get in the Legion of Doom. Oh, we're going to get your hand back too. Jokes like that, and they keep doing that. Back with Jim Gordon, he starts to get really close with the hand, and this is where I thought the episode was going to get weird. Because, look, the hand acts like a little kid. Jim Gordon is talking about having a bad sex life with his wife, and she's cheating on him. And it's a hand. I was really afraid, this being an M-rated show, and some of the weird choices that some of these DC Universe shows make, I was afraid they were going to go there, if you know what I mean, but they didn't. Thankfully, they had the hand starts to listen to Jim Gordon, and he imagines them going out for a drink together and riding a motorcycle together and just hanging out. And I was like, please don't show them in bed. Please don't show them in bed. And they didn't. Thankfully, they didn't go there. I think now if the hand would have acted just like Clayface, like an adult, I think that might have been a funny joke. But since it was a kid, I was glad they just left that alone. Just before the hand is getting ready to give up, the hand becomes friends with Jim Gordon. It's going to give up Harley Quinn and her crew, but of course they go to the police station to stop it. When they're going into the police station, this leads, I think the MVP of this episode has to be King Shark. He has, like, all his scenes are really good. The first time we see him is when they're breaking into Wayne Tech. I'm going back a little bit. They're breaking into Wayne Tech, and he's like, "Harley, thank you for letting me just be who I am. you think he's talking, he's going to go in and hack the place, right? But then right before he hacks the place, there's someone sitting at the computer, and just as a shark, he bites the guy's head off, and it's hilarious. When they're going into the police station, King Shark is supposed to be captured by Clayface, who is impersonating a cop. But the second that he walks in there, the cops freak out, yell shark, and shoot him. So he goes to prison. And then I'll talk about his last scene here at the end, because it's at the end of the episode. But King Shark is the MVP of this episode, I think. So anyway, Clayface and Harley go up to the rooftop. They've got Jim Gordon's holding a gun to him. The hand is about to help Jim Gordon, and it's saying, "Don't let him get me." Harley takes the button that she stole from Wayne Enterprises and threatens to use it, and she still doesn't even know what it does. That being said, she does say something in the episode saying the Legion of Doom will be impressed by this. They're gonna love this, and it actually, when she presses it, you find out that they would have been impressed, because it takes Harley right to the Batcave. She ends very awkwardly, we'll just say. And she's being hung over a pit, we'll just say. And Batman and her get in a conversation. And both of them, during said conversation, realize that they're both being selfish towards their friends. Where Batman is saying, well, I'm not really Jim Gordon's friend. We're just co-workers. No, they're friends. And they should listen to each other. And Harley realizes that, I know I want to get into the Legion of Doom, but my friends should be more important. So they go back to Gotham PD, where Batman and Jim Gordon kind of make up. And so then it's funny, because he's like, Jim Gordon's like, "Thank you, Hand, but now I have my real friend back." You think that would be funny and a mean thing to say, but the Hand actually takes it well and starts to walk away a little sad. And Jim Gordon's like, "No, don't do that." And this is a great scene, and it makes me love Clayface even more in this show, because as the Hand turns around, is getting ready to say something like, "I love you too," or something like that. And before he even gets a sentence out, Clayface just smashes him and absorbs him. And it's hilarious. It's like, ha, back to normal. And that was pretty funny. But then Batman says to Harley, "I'm taking you in." And Harley's like, "Wait, I just saved your friendship." But he's like, "Yeah, but you still doing all this bad stuff." But they do end up getting away. The end of the episode, see, there's a side story going on with Dr. Psycho and Poison Ivy. There's a vlogger on, it's basically their villain YouTube, I guess, I don't remember the exact name, but it's basically the villain YouTube. And this vlogger is ripping on Harley's crew and making bad comments about Dr. Psycho. And they also say that Dr. Psycho and Poison Ivy are a couple. So the two of them tracked them down literally through the grapevine. They heard it through the grapevine, and that was a pretty funny line, I gotta say. But it turns out they're at Dr. Psycho's ex-wife house, which is Giganta, as we've seen in another episode. And it turns out that the vlogger is Dr. Psycho's son. And I gotta say, I actually really enjoyed their talk that they have. They have this, it's silly, but it's a serious talk as well. And he talks about how he hates his dad, and Dr. Psycho explains why he did what he did. And it was, for villains, it's very funny. It's just kind of, he's saying some of the meanest things, but it's like, because I'm a villain and I want you to be a villain and I see potential in you and all. And it's pretty funny, and I really enjoyed that side story. But at the end of the episode, the vlogger retracts all the bad things he says, except for he says they would be good for the Legion of Doom if they would stop leaving their members behind. And they're like, "Wait, we didn't leave anybody." And they realize that King Shark is in prison. And this leads to the prison scene. And I love the duality of King Shark, because he's all chill one minute and then all of a sudden he's freaking out, right? It leads to some funny lines when they go to rescue him. It leads to some funny lines of they're in prison and they're saying like fresh fish, and King Shark's like, look, I know you're trying to be funny, but it's kind of offensive. And they're like, sorry. But just when we see him in prison, he's drinking toilet wine, and he's just like, if you bring me inferior toilet wine again, I'm going to have to kill you. But just as they're breaking him out of prison and he says the stuff about the fresh fish, he's like, I know it's offensive. He's like, and if you ever say it again, I'm going to kill you. And he's just going back and forth being calm and mean, and it's hilarious. So yeah, King Shark, definitely the MVP of the episode. So I really enjoyed this episode. I was afraid I wasn't, because the first time I saw Jim Gordon in the show, I didn't like what they did with him. But this episode was funny. I really enjoyed that they kind of showed a parallel between how Harley was treating her crew and Batman is treating his friend, and plus King Shark is hilarious in this, and you also get some funny scenes with Clayface. Him talking about being able to play after he loses his arm, he's like, I'll just play one-armed people for the rest of my life. And because of course we know that Clayface can just make his hand magically reappear, but apparently in this show it gets cut off, it's gone. He has to reabsorb it. So at least some funny stuff. So all in all, it was a pretty funny episode, and some quote unquote heartwarming moments like the Dr. Psycho stuff with his son. I mean, it's not like tear-inducing heartwarming, but just for them being villains, it's just funny heartwarming. So yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. I've watched it a couple times now, and I had a really good time both times I watched it. So yeah, it's still being a pretty good show, as long as they're being intelligent with their comedy, as I've said before. And I've heard someone say recently that, a lot of the DC shows are, and I've said this too, that they're just being, they're just saying F-bombs and stuff, and the writing's bad because they have an MA rating and they can say whatever they want. I think this show's doing a little better than, now granted I haven't watched anything other than Titans, but I've been hearing things about some of the other shows, and I think this one's working a little better for me because they're not taking anything overly serious. Like Titans is overly serious, right? And it's kind of silly. This show's supposed to be silly. There's rapid fire humor. I mean, that's one thing I definitely like about the show. When the humor's on, it's really on, and it's fast and it's quippy, and I think I enjoy that. And the reason I think I'm enjoying this more is because it doesn't take itself too serious. It's a ridiculous show, and it comes off ridiculous because it's supposed to be ridiculous. So I've really been enjoying this one. Again, Titans hasn't really done much for me, but this show, most of the episodes I've enjoyed, and I'm looking forward to the next one. That's going to be all for this edition of Crossin Streams. If you like what you've heard here, please subscribe to the Real Geno YouTube channel. Like this video. If you have anything to say about the Harley Quinn show in the DC Universe, please feel free to leave a comment in the section below. Till next time, I'm your host, the Real Geno, Geno Reynolds. See you later, puddins.